Hello, Professor. So today our group will be introducing our presentation on body image. Body image is an important topic in psychology because it affects the perception of our own bodies and how people think, feel, and accept or reject their bodies. In this presentation, our group will explore several major areas related to body image, including social media influences, cultural and gender differences, and how these ideas connect to psychological theories. We will also explore how intersectionality shapes people's experiences with their own bodies. Before diving in depth about the featured subtopics in our presentation, I want to give background to what body image actually is. Body image isn't just about your physical features or what you look like on the outside. It also includes your thoughts, emotions, and beliefs about your own body. It has a lot to do with the way you see yourself and the way you feel about the way you look, because ultimately it affects our own mental health either positively or negatively. Body image is shaped by both personal perception and outside influences. An example of this is the way we talk to ourselves, the feedback we get from others, and what we see in the media all plays a role in how we view our bodies. In today's world, we get most of our concepts of body image from social media, where we're told what is an acceptable body and what isn't. And even though people think that body image mostly affects women, it actually affects both women and men, although men face body image a little differently than women do. Moving on, understanding body image matters greatly because it helps us recognize where these pressures come from and how they influence our confidence, self-esteem, and overall well-being. With that foundation in mind, we will move on to our first major topic, how social media and cultural values shape the way people feel about their bodies.
When it comes to social media and cultural influences, there's no question they have a huge impact on how people see themselves, especially women. Culture and media shape the way women think about their bodies, and that has a big effect on confidence, self-worth, and mental health. In Western culture, women are constantly surrounded by very specific beauty standards that glorify being thin, toned, and flawless. From ads and TV shows to fashion magazines, these messages subtly teach women that appearance equals value, that being beautiful somehow makes you feel more confident or even more deserving. However, what's interesting is that beauty ideals aren't the same everywhere. In some Latin American and African cultures, curvier figures are more celebrated, while in many East Asian cultures, being slim is considered ideal. But even with these differences, the same pressure to look a certain way exists almost everywhere. It just takes on a different shape. Especially with the rise of social media, that pressure has only gotten stronger. Platforms like Instagram and TikTok make it almost impossible not to compare yourself to others. Everywhere you look, there's influencers, filters, and photos that show an edited version of reality. Over time, the posting, scrolling, and comparing can become a negative cycle of reinforcement, where each time a woman compares herself to seek validation through likes and comments, it only strengthens the habit of self-objectification and body monitoring. This makes it really easy for women to internalize those images and feel like they're never enough, just because their real lives don't match up to what they see online. To further back this claim, a 2015 study by Jasmine Farduli actually found that women who often looked at social media images felt more dissatisfied with their bodies and were in lower moods, especially when they compared themselves to others. So it just shows that this isn't just a surface level issue, it directly affects emotional well-being. And all these influences altogether create an unrealistic mirror. And when women constantly measure themselves against that mirror, it can lead to anxiety, low self-esteem, and even disordered eating. Because essentially, that mirror only reflects what society expects women to look like, instead of allowing them to see who they truly are.
On this slide, I will be focusing on gender differences in body image and how pressure can look different for men and women. First, let's talk about women. Women are often taught from a really young age to pay close attention to their appearance. There's a lot of pressure to be thin, toned, and pretty in a very specific way. Things like weight, body shape, skin, hair, and even small details of how you look can start to feel like they matter a lot. On top of that, women experience more appearance-based judgment. People feel more comfortable commenting on women's bodies, outfits, or faces, whether in real life or online. For men, the pressure is still there, but it's usually different. Instead of being pushed to be thin, men are more often pushed to be strong, muscular, and ripped. The ideal for men is usually about being broad, having a six-pack, or looking athletic. Men can feel like they're not man enough if they're too small, too skinny, or not muscular enough. Research by Grabe, Hyde, and Ward, 2008, shows that media plays a big role here, especially for women. The more women are exposed to idolized images in TVs, movies, ads, social media, the more likely they are to feel dissatisfied with their own bodies. Constant comparison to edited, filtered, or unrealistic images makes it easy to feel like you're not enough. So even though both genders experience body pressure, women usually face more external evaluation. Society often sends the message that a woman's experience is strongly tied to her worth. How seriously she's taken, how lovable she is, or how successful she feels. As you look at this slide, I want you to think about how these messages show up in your own life, either through social media, friends, family, or through casual conversation, and how they might affect the way people see themselves and their bodies.
So I'll be going into objectification theory and how it connects to body image. Objectification theory, introduced by Fredrickson and Roberts, explains that women learn to view their bodies the way other people see them. It's as if they're constantly looking at themselves from the perspective of an outsider. And because of that, women often monitor their bodies, worry about how they look, and feel pressure to meet certain standards. This leads to things like body shame, lower self-esteem, and even trouble focusing or staying present. Our textbook also talks about how constant appearance evaluation increases self-objectification and body dissatisfaction. Now, social media really intensifies this even more. Filters, likes, and comparisons make women feel like they have to look perfect all the time. And research backs this up, as a study by Teigman and Anderberg found that posting and editing selfies actually increases self-objectification and body dissatisfaction in young women. So this theory helps explain why so many women feel disconnected from their bodies and overly focused on how they appear. Intersectionality is also an important part of understanding body image. It shows us that not all women experience the same beauty pressures. Identity like race, ethnicity, sexuality, class, age, or disability really shapes how women see themselves and how society views them as well. For example, some Black women report feeling more satisfied with their bodies, but they still face things like colorism and Eurocentric beauty standards. Research by Capodilupo highlights this divide really clearly, as it shows that Latina women often deal with both American thinness pressures and cultural expectations of being curvy. Asian American women also face Eurocentric beauty norms around skin tone and facial features. LGBTQ plus women can experience completely different body pressures tied to gender expression and community norms. And women with disabilities or older women are barely represented in media, which affects how included or valued they feel. So intersectionality reminds us that there's no single female body image. Each woman experiences different pressures depending on her identity and her environment.
Body image is closely tied to self-esteem, confidence, and emotional well-being. It gives psychologists insight into how people develop a sense of self. Studying body image reveals how cultural messages, gender expectations, and social pressures influence thoughts, behaviors, and mental health. Understanding body image helps psychology explain and prevent issues like anxiety, depression, and eating disorders. By looking at how body image differs across gender, culture, identity, and lived experiences, psychology becomes more accurate and representative. Knowing what influences body image helps psychologists design programs that build healthier self-perceptions and resilience. In conclusion, our presentation showed that body image isn't just about how individuals feel about themselves. It is shaped heavily by society. Across different cultures and genders, people are exposed to beauty standards that tell them what they should look like, and media often reinforces very narrow ideals. Objectification theory helps us understand how women learn to view themselves through an outsider's perspective, which can lead to self-monitoring, shame, and lowered self-esteem. We also emphasize that body image isn't the same for every woman. Race, ethnicity, sexuality, disability status, and age all play a role in shaping how women experience beauty pressures. So the key takeaway is when we understand how strong these social influences are, we can be more mindful, kinder to ourselves, and supportive of creating more inclusive and realistic representations of beauty.